Hi there, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are joining from in the world today. Welcome to Live with Leila. My name is Leila Singh and I'm a leadership, career and personal brand coach. My mission is to impact 100,000 people's career trajectory beyond what they thought possible. Why? Because I am passionate about helping you to realize what is truly possible for you when it comes to your career and your life. And how do I do this? Through enabling you to harness your leadership potential. I coach high achieving, ambitious, and driven mid to senior level career professionals, typically working in the technology industry for promotion, for peak performance, and positioning. In other words, a standout personal brand, all whilst showing up as the best version of yourself, what I call life leadership. So I welcome each and every one of you who's joining me live today. If you're joining live, please do say hello in the comments. Shah, hello, great to have you here. And if you're watching on replay, then of course, please do hashtag replay in the comments. So I know that you've checked me out, you checked out today's content, and also let me know what you've taken away from it. What's your big call to action? What are you going to do differently on the back of today's live? So without further ado, let's get into today's topic, which is all about why focusing on what went well drives peak performance. I'm just checking that this is streaming okay on the platforms. Yep, that looks good. So, why focusing on what went well drives peak performance. So today I want to deep dive into a topic that can fundamentally transform your approach when it comes to work, to leadership, and to life. I wanted us to look at how we train ourselves to focus on what went well rather than what didn't. And this is a concept that's grounded in neuroscience, and it's directly linked to the pathways that our brains naturally build over time. So what we're looking to do is reprogram that. And here's the thing I want to make really clear. This isn't just about simply positive thinking. And I hear this so much, which is I'm mentioning that because often when I have conversations with people, they're like, oh yeah, I just need to think positive. But here's the thing with that. If we think positive, it's very surface level. It's up here somewhere. But deep down, if we don't believe that, if we don't embody that positive thinking, and if we've got different subconscious thoughts occurring, which oftentimes aren't even in our awareness, then that high level, surface level positive thinking isn't actually going to work. So for me, this is where the real deep inner work comes in, and holding that mirror up to ourselves to recognize how we're showing up and what we're doing that potentially can be hindering us and holding us back from moving forward, both in our careers and in our lives. In other words, this is about reprogramming our mental wiring for longer term success, for resilience, and of course, greater fulfillment. So if there's something that you want to accomplish, you want to achieve in terms of letting go of all the negativity and all the what's gone wrong or what didn't work well or what am I missing out on or what don't I have, and look at all the great things in your life, then this session is for you. And, you know, what I want you to remember here as well is most people, particularly if you're driven, if you're a high achiever, we often focus on the one thing that went wrong rather than the many things that went right. And by the way, I'm guilty of this, right? We all do it in some shape or form. The difference then becomes how quickly we can recognize the road that we're going down and pull ourselves out of it, reverse back out or turn back, and then look at all the positives. And I do this a lot. We are all very self-critical. We're probably our worst critics. And so it's important to recognize this and to then build into our awareness where we're doing this. And actually, we will still go down that road, but actually we can then take ourselves back out as well. An example of this, a personal example I can share is when I deliver keynotes, for example, at events. I can be incredibly self-critical of my performance, of the content that I share, how I shared it, if I remember to share everything that I intended to share, and all of that overthinking that we go into after the event. And oftentimes that's my own self-critique, which it's good to reflect on what went well and what could have been better, but also to be mindful that we are our own worst critic, and therefore we're going to be biased towards looking at all the negative and often missing out on the positive. And I've, as I said, I've been guilty of this too, and we all are, is that you could have a day where everything goes phenomenally well, but there's just one thing that doesn't go the way you had planned, the way you had wanted, the way you'd intended. And you come home after a long day when you've had so much like great wins, things have gone well, and you're feeling really down, or you're feeling really stressed, you're beating yourself up, maybe you're feeling like a failure, all of those kinds of things. And it's because you're focusing on that one thing that didn't go well and missing out on actually what did go well. What are the wins that I had today? Wasn't it great to meet up with a friend after so long and have a catch up? We suddenly forget all of that, and our brains focus on the negative. And with this, it's a tendency which is often rooted in our human survival instinct. So my invitation is to shift from the focus of what went wrong to a what went well instinct. And this requires reprogramming, as I said, reprogramming our neural pathways through intentional and consistent practice. And that's what I want to share with you today, because our neural pathways, for whatever reason, that survival instincts, are conditioned to avoid things, to look at the risk and what went wrong and all the bad negative stuff. And then we end up failing to notice all of the great stuff that is happening around us and for us. So my invitation here is keep this practical. We're not talking about being delusional and ignoring the challenges that we're facing in life. Instead, we're looking to choose to consciously acknowledge success. And that's the fundamental difference. So the question to consider here is, what is the impact of not choosing to shift your perspective? And staying focused on what didn't work. So the examples I mentioned earlier, if you had a load of things going on at work and then one thing that didn't go as planned or intended, this can lead to stress. If you're focusing on that one thing, it can lead to stress, it can lead to burnout, and also potentially feelings of inadequacy, knocking your confidence and so forth. And this is all despite all of the things that went well and all of your achievements and those wins, however big or small they are. And what happens here is this focus drains on our mental energy, and it also reinforces those negative thought patterns, which then in turn hinders your performance and your well-being, because the stress is impacting your energy, your well-being, your health. And of course, it will be detrimental to your performance, the way that you're showing up in the way that you approach things. And of course, in today's fast-paced, dynamic, demanding working landscape that's incredibly competitive, high-pressure environments already generate enough stress for us. We don't need to create even more stress for ourselves, which, by the way, is self-created through our thoughts, through what we focus on, and spending too much time looking at the things that didn't work out, the things that aren't going well. You want to learn from these and see, okay, what can I do differently? What could be better? What have I learned from this? But not focusing on, okay, it went really badly, let's say, and I'm just going to beat myself up and tell myself I'm a failure, because that doesn't really serve anybody. It doesn't help us at all. So what are the potential challenges when it comes to creating this shift, this mindset shift, this reprogramming, change in focus? So one of the things is habitual thinking. We all have our habits, and our brains are wired to focus on threats. Remember, we talked about the survival instinct or the survival mechanism. So naturally, this is going to be challenging for our brains to create this change because we've got that habitual thinking. The second challenge potentially is comfort and familiarity, because people often avoid this shift because they're comfortable in routines. It's easy to stay with what you know, even when those routines don't serve us. How many of you know that you're guilty of that in some shape or form in one area of your life where you know that something, it isn't really serving you, it's not maybe moving you forward or enabling you to grow and develop, but it's comfortable. So I'm going to stay put. And that could be anything. That could be in your career, where you're choosing to not move job or put yourself forward for promotion or change company. It could be, or developing a new skill even, so you could experience something new. It could be in your health, that you're doing the same thing over and not really getting any new results, but it's what you know and it's comfortable, so you're going to stick with that rather than looking for something different to try. Might even be relationships, whether it's partner relationships or with friends, whereby you're kind of, it's comfortable, so I'm going to keep hanging out or doing whatever I'm doing, even though you know it's kind of hindering you, you know, maybe creating negative emotions for you. It's really not serving you at all, but it's comfortable because it's what you know, and it avoids the risk of stepping away from that. And we do this in all areas of our life. So it's slowing down to recognize where we're doing that, where we are guilty of doing this. And actually, once we become conscious of that, we can then make that decision. Are we prepared to put up? Are we prepared to just stay where we are? Or do we want to grow? Do we want to evolve? Do we want to develop? Because remember this, growth requires discomfort, but the long-term rewards of that are immense. So the phrase I've used often, you might have heard me say this before, is get comfortable with being uncomfortable. That is my big invitation to you. Get comfortable with being uncomfortable, because that is where the growth happens. That is where we really get to experience an even better life, better opportunity, success, and real fulfillment. Now you're thinking maybe, well, why is this impact? Why is the important, or what is rather the importance of shifting our perspective? What is the potential impact it can have on us? So there's a couple of things. Firstly, on work. So if we choose to shift our focus onto what went well, that lens makes us more solution focused. It makes us more creative and, of course, more productive in what we're doing, because it fosters a mindset of continuous improvement and development and growth. When it comes to our life, when we focus on what's working, we improve our resilience, our emotional well-being, and our confidence. And this directly affects how we show up in our careers, in our relationships, and in our life. So there is a significant impact when we choose to shift our perspective in the way that we look at our life, the world around us, and the experiences that we have day to day. Further still, when it comes to leadership, this shift positively influences your leadership style, your decision making, and also the environment that you create for the people around you. And what are some of the advantages of making this shift? Because you might be thinking, well, this sounds like hard work. Why should I bother? There's a lot of advantages to this. For example, increased productivity. You'll find yourself more effective and less bogged down by distractions and negativity. If you focus on what is going well, what can you improve? What are your learnings? Think about your emotional resilience as well. The shift in our perspective and the lens that we look at the world through builds a more stable emotional foundation, which is crucial when it comes to resilience, to handling those setbacks, those obstacles that will always inevitably come our way. And then there is stronger leadership presence. So leaders who focus on what's working create more positive and engaging environments for the teams around them. So there's significant advantages to shifting our lens that we look at the world through and our perspective. And I said, this isn't just about saying a couple of positive affirmations in the morning and hoping that it all goes well. This is about actually embodying this, and from a subconscious level, starting to really recognize, where are we placing our focus? What are we looking at? Do our minds automatically go to the one thing that didn't go as well as planned, and ignoring all of the great stuff that did happen, your wins, your successes, your accomplishments? So of course you're thinking, well, how do I do this? What are the strategies for creating this shift? So I want to share 5 things with you. Grab a pen and paper if you haven't already done so, and make a note of these, because I want you to commit to doing at least one of these over the next week and starting to notice the difference. So the first thing is gratitude practice. And this is something I invite all of my clients that I work with to do. And they all see a massive shift in their outlook on life, on themselves, on their day, on their career. So it impacts everything in our life, is gratitude practice. So my invitation is to either start your day, end your day, or even do both by writing down 3 things that you are grateful for. It's a really simple yet so incredibly effective tool in rewiring your brain over time, because now you're consciously getting your brain to focus on the positives, on the things that have gone well, on those wins. What are the things that you're grateful for today? And you will find different things every day. You know, I've had clients who've really struggled with this because before they've tried it, where they feel that, oh, well, I can't think of anything. I'm just going to repeat myself every day. Now, this is not to say you can't be grateful every day for your health or your family, for example, your loved ones. But actually look outside as well of that and think about your day to day. Maybe you're grateful for a conversation that you had with a friend you hadn't spoken to for a long time. Maybe you're grateful that your journey to work was really easy and effortless and you didn't have to sit in loads of traffic. It's, you know, maybe you're grateful for the fantastic workout you had this morning at the gym that's left you feeling really energized. It could be anything, but there is so much. Even we go down to what are kind of the fundamentals, like having hot running water and cold running water at home. Maybe it's having a warm bed to sleep in. Maybe it's, I love drinking tea all day. So for me, I'm very grateful for having an abundance of fresh, hot tea to drink throughout any given day. You know, there's little things and there's huge significant things. Like for me, I'm grateful that I participated in my first skydive at the weekend and I landed safely on the ground. So there's a lot to be grateful for in that. So there's so many things, whether they're big or whether they're small wins, that we can find to be grateful for. So my invitation, if you do nothing else from this, is to start your gratitude practice. 3 things a day. I'm sure the more you do it, you'll start to find more than 3 things that you can be grateful for each day, and write them down. Get a notebook, keep it next to your bed, or do it on your phone if that's easier, but just do it. Just get into the habit of practicing gratitude. Second thing is the 5-to-1 rule. So what this is that for every negative thought or event that occurs for you, actively look for 5 things that went well or could go well. Because why is this powerful? Is because it helps to balance out the natural negativity bias that we tend to have. So remember, I spoke about how I'm very self-critical when I deliver a speaking event, like a keynote. But then I look for all the positives, and a lot of times I'm actually beating myself up, because when I do review it and I'm objective about it, it's never as bad as I initially think it is. Right? That's the first thing. Secondly, there's no point in beating myself up over it, because what's done is done. It's usually well received, but also what are the pluses that have come out of that? The things that went well. Even for me, if one person has taken something away or been inspired by what I've shared, for me, my work is done, even with these lives. So it's looking at those small things that are the wins, the things that have gone well, that we often overlook because we have that natural negativity bias. So think about the 5-to-1 rule and how you incorporate that. The other thing that's important with all of these strategies is building our self-awareness. And if you follow me regularly, you'll know that I talk about self-awareness on a regular basis, because self-awareness is the key to our growth. Really getting to recognize yourself, how you show up, what's going on in here, those thoughts that you're having that are either hindering you, holding you back, or propelling you forward. And most of the time it is the negative. So when we build our self-awareness, we start to recognize and notice what we're doing, and we can then make a different choice. That's what it means to bring things into our awareness. The third strategy is weekly wins. And by the way, you can do this daily and monthly and yearly. Is at the end of each week, in this example, make a list of your accomplishments, both big and small. As I just mentioned, don't just look for really big things. Okay, for me, a skydive is huge, but actually there's a lot of smaller wins as well. So you want to really dig deep and look for those, identify them, to help you to regularly acknowledge your progress, or the progress that you are making in life. Number 4 is mindful reflection. In other words, after meetings, after presentations, or any key events or interactions that you have, take a few minutes to reflect. Reflect on what went well before evaluating what could be improved. Always start with the wins and the what went well. Then look at what could have been better? And maybe your third question could be, okay, what can I do differently next time? So what are my learnings? And number 5 is reframing any setbacks. So when something doesn't go according to plan, which can often be the case, immediately ask yourself, what can I learn from this? As opposed to saying, I failed, or this is just failure, let's just give up. It's having a different conversation with yourself, whether it's outwardly or in here, that will create a different shift in where you're focusing on and what you notice. And when you incorporate at least a couple of these strategies into your day-to-day routines, you will start to notice an inner shift within you in how you're experiencing both your job and your life and your day-to-day experiences. All of this that we just talked about here, all of these strategies reframe the experience that you're having in life into growth opportunities, particularly when it comes to your career. The simple act of focusing on what went well can transform not only how you perceive your life and your career, but it can also enhance your performance and your leadership skills, the way you show up as a leader. This is about training your brain from a higher level of consciousness. In other words, retraining your neural pathways to step away from that where we are in like risk averse and staying away from the what could go wrong approach to actually, okay, how can we show up fully present and look at all the great things that we're experiencing, the great opportunities, the experiences, the day-to-day accomplishments that we have. And again, it's not only the big things, it's the small wins as well. So my invitation to you is to try one or two of the strategies that I have just shared over the next week. And I would love you to share experiences of this in the comments below, to come back and let me know how you get on with that. As a quick recap, the 5 strategies to create the inner shift are gratitude practice, the 5-to-1 rule, the weekly wins, mindful reflection, and reframing any setbacks. So as always, I hope you found this useful. Let me know what your biggest takeaway is from today. And before I wrap up, a couple of quick reminders. Number 1, your playbook, your personal brand playbook. If you haven't already grabbed your copy of this, then do please click on the link, which will be in the comments shortly, and grab your copy of the playbook. What is the personal brand playbook? It's something I put together which highlights what I believe to be the 6 most important areas for us to develop and focus on when it comes to showing up as the best version of ourselves, to having a strong reputation within the workplace such that opportunities come our way. So the playbook goes into depth explaining each of these 6 pillars. It also provides you with best practices that you can implement immediately. And in addition, there is a brand audit available so that you can identify out of those 6 areas, the ones that have the biggest gaps, the ones that you can prioritize and focus on developing to be even better. So do grab your copy of the playbook today. And of course, head over once I'm done to YouTube and please do subscribe to my channel and share it with others, your colleagues, your friends who can benefit from the content that I share on the channel, which includes all of my weekly lives, as well as really compelling interviews with leaders from the tech industry who've generously shared their time and their career journeys, sharing the challenges that they have overcome and really just showing what is possible when it comes to your career. There is a wealth of content on there, so please do head over, share the link with others, subscribe and learn from it. There will always be things in there for you that can benefit where you're at right now when it comes to your career, whether you're starting out, whether you're stepping into leadership, or you simply want to improve your leadership skills. Until next time, remember to harness your potential, to elevate your performance and commit towards achieving greater personal growth by showing up as the best version of you. Take care, have a great rest of the week, and I will see you same time, same place next Tuesday.